He is a former WWE Hall of Famer, and I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
Oh, pleasure to be here. Thanks, Keith, for having me.
Now, for people who want to know what uncensored is my way of showing people that even if we're learning disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, I'm able to turn myself into a perfect example for people out there dealing with any types of disabilities or learning disabilities. But you should never give up or have people label you, and you should prove to them you can still mount to something no matter what. So that being said, half hour, 45 minutes of your time, you can curse if you want to. Call me an asshole for messing up your last name.
Oh, nah, that's not my style. I'm kind of yeah. I'm I hate to say it, but I kind of keep things PG at least most of the time. Anyways, I try unless I'm driving. Sometimes when I'm driving, the non-PG comes out. That's for sure.
Well, I promise I keep it PG for you.
Oh no, I'm just kidding. That's okay.
So, with that being said, starting off, what can you tell us about yourself?
Just for people who aren't familiar with my career, obviously refereed in the WWE for over 20 years, and it was great. I mean, no complaints. Obviously, not every day is biscuits and gravy, as they say. I mean, you have good days, bad days, but for the most part, most of the time it was great, and doing something that you love doing. And that's the thing. I love being part of the WWE. I loved refereeing. I loved, just being around the business. I love the business so much that it's very cliche, but at the same time, it's true that when your job is something you love doing, it doesn't feel like work. And I've been very fortunate in my personal and professional life throughout my career, and I count my blessings every day. I don't take it for granted. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. In a couple minutes, I'm going to pass the show over to you. You can ask me anything you want, gloves off. Now, you mentioned you were there for 20 years. Were you there for the transition from WWF to WWE?
Yeah, and it was weird. I mean, I guess every company at some point, yeah, has to go through some kind of trials and so, some difficult moments. And the name change was weird from a getting used to saying World Wrestling Entertainment or WWE as opposed to WWF, and everybody struggled with it at first. I mean, even Vince struggled with it at first. Every once in a while the F would come out instead of the E. So one thing I thought was really brilliant was the marketing strategy, especially with the T-shirts. And I think I still have one of them somewhere in my archive collection, where it says "Get the F out," which I thought was like, what better way to try and rebrand your product? So it was a tough transition from getting used to the language, but yeah, you got through it, and people got over it. I hope. I know a lot of people were, well, how do you say entertainment instead of federation? I mean, but it is at the same time, it is entertainment. So
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm going to ask you some hard-hitting questions. And
mhm.
two things I want to bring up. You said, I remember that shirt too, when he says get the F out. You can't wear that in school because they're very sensitive.
Mhm.
But there are a couple incidents where they do slip, or unless they do it on purpose, or to say the F, where Vince McMahon was doing a promo, and he said Rey Mysterio, you can get your WWF title match later on.
Mhm.
I thought it's
Yeah.
funny, or there were a couple other ones. But what I was gonna ask you, I'm gonna ask you some hard hitting ones straight off. And like I
Mhm.
said, you can ask me anything. Were you there for the Owen Hart incident?
Yeah. Actually, I was in the ring at the time when the accident happened, and um, I wrote a book on my career called. I hate to make this a cheap plug at the same time, but I wrote an autobiography about my career in the WWE, and it's the first time I really go into detail about it. I didn't really talk about it much, being in the ring during that tragic time, and how close uh, I was to actually becoming part of that tragedy, because I was very close to where Owen fell, and it was difficult on so many levels. Not just for me, but for everybody. I mean, Owen was one of the most. I don't know anybody who has a bad thing to say about Owen. I mean, he was such a kind soul. Obviously his practical jokes, his ribs, as they say, were classic and stuff legends are made of, but they were all harmless, and it's just terrible. It's just a terrible tragedy, a terrible time for everybody at the WWE, and I don't know if everybody that was there that night ever really got over it.
I know it's a sensitive subject, and I didn't know you were part of it. I don't mean to get you upset or piss you off, but
No, 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 no.
would you be okay talking about it, or you just want to move on?
Um, no, I guess uh, it's still a little, not that it's very sensitive, but it's still one of those things that um, even to this day, so many years later, it still comes into my mind, and it's still something I think about. And not just Owen. There's a lot of guys. Eddie Guerrero, for example. These are all guys that um, you develop a connection with, not just working together, but on a personal level. And when you lose friends, it's just very difficult to deal with, and everybody deals with it in their own way. Um, I was just fortunate that I had a good support system, and the WWE, again, sounding very cliche, it's your family away from home.
Right.
And during tough times like that, they are very supportive, and especially at home, having a good, solid family foundation helps as well. Uh, so it's still something that every once in a while, you'll never forget it, but at the same time, you have to try and move on anyway.
No, absolutely. Now, while on the subject, Owen Hart should be in the Hall of Fame, #1. I'm looking forward to
Mm-hmm.
that day.
Great. Mm-hmm.
And do you have any funny moments or memories about Owen of Owen? And has Owen ever pulled a prank on you?
Yeah, he got me. I wasn't really a target of his, so every once in a while, I guess it was just my turn one night. We got to a hotel fairly late, and then it was about, I want to say about 2:30 in the morning, maybe close to 3 o'clock, and the phone rings in my room, and it's a guy who says he's from the front desk, and he says I have to come down to the front desk because there's a problem with my credit card. It's been declined and all this, and he's going on. And I said, well, can't we do it in the morning? And he said, no, no, it has to be done right now. So, I put on I get dressed, I go downstairs, and I go to the front desk, and I say to the guy, so, you called me. He said, no, I didn't call your room. I said, well, somebody from the front desk did. And they said, what's it about? I said, my credit card. He said, no, nothing. I don't see anything here. Find out later it was Owen. And after a few minutes, a few other guys are coming down to the front desk asking the same question. And this guy's like wondering what the hell's going on. But yeah, he got me. So, and again, like I said, it's harmless, and it's fun. But I'll tell you what, you never got Owen back, because if you got Owen back with a rib, you were going to get it back as well. So, and he was very creative too. So,
I wish I had a chance to meet him. I got the chance to meet Bret Hart. To tell you a funny story about that, actually, if you want to hear it.
Sure.
I met Bret Hart back in, let's see, what's it? It was either early '95 or '96, and I got the autograph signed.
Oh, cool.
And then basically, we're on line. We got there about 12. We were supposed to leave at 2. And my parents went off doing shopping. And we got halfway to the line, because it was hundreds of people.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad said, "Oh, you believe it? Did the line even move? I'm not going to waste my day standing here. Does the line better move, or we got to leave?" So when we got closer, we were able to see Bret. And I told him the story when I called his talk show. I don't know if he still does it. But I said, my dad said, "You believe this guy? He has his head down. He sign pass, sign pass." So I made up in my mind, says, I'm going to get his attention no matter what. So we were in closer, and my two brothers went ahead. No reaction. And I thought it was my brother in front of me who took the autograph. So I got a death grip on it. And I noticed I was being pulled to the side, and it was Bret. And he stopped what he was doing. And I really thought he was going to say, "Hey kid, you want me to sign this or what?" Instead, he stopped what he was doing. He looked right at me, and he smiled. Out of all those people before me, I was the only one that he looked at, and that really means a lot to me.
That's amazing. Bret's a good guy, and of course a fellow Canadian. So I have to I have to mention that as well, being Canadian myself. So yeah, it's special moments like that. That you take someone like a John Cena right now, and people see and they hear about all his Make-A-Wish stuff, for example, and granting over 500 wishes. It's just amazing that with the grueling schedules that these guys have, that they still find time to be genuine nice guys.
Right. My biggest regret is the week after Owen and the Bulldog were there. And my parents says, "We were rated online just a week ago. We're not doing that again. You're going to see him down the road." And Bulldog never came back. He passed away in 2002 or 2003. I think 2002. And then Owen passed away in the accident. That's like, I wish you guys came back sooner, but
yeah, that's unfortunate.
Now, the next hard-hitting question I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask you how did you start your career and everything, is do you think, and I mentioned this a lot, and I talked to Vince Russo about this, and I interviewed a couple other wrestlers, and I'll get to in a little bit. As a professional wrestler, and you may know where I'm going with this, as a professional wrestler only, he is one of the greatest. As a human being, I never met the guy. I really don't know what to say about him. I'm not going to knock the dead. But how do you feel about Chris Benoit?
Yeah, see, I'm conflicted about that because, again, Chris was a friend as well as a colleague, as a work. So that's another one where I don't know what to make of the situation, and people, draw conclusions and think they know what happened, but no one really knows what happened that weekend. I mean, obviously, it was a tragic situation. I'm not trying to excuse what he did in his final days and hours, but at the same time, that wasn't the Chris I knew. That wasn't the Chris that I got to know and become friends with. And see, that's something, again, you talk about struggles with people losing friends and stuff like that. That's another one I struggle with because I would never envision that from him. And again, one of those things where you say, it's so hard to believe, but at the same time, how do you dispute what happened? You know what I mean? It's just, again, you don't want to speak ill of the dead, but at the same time, it wasn't a good situation for anybody,
Yeah, absolutely. And I apologize if this sounds like a morbid interview.
Oh, no. I know, we'll get the lighter stuff better. That's all right.
Now, the next question I was going to ask you, you mentioned you were almost at coaching, but you were refereeing for 20 years. When did you start and when did you retire? And do you have any funny stories during the period of time that you were there? Because you were there for
Yeah,
20 years, you have to have a lot of great stories.
yeah, I got a lot of fun stories. I actually started working for Jack Tunney up here in Canada, who was WWF president at the time, in 1985, and started refereeing very early in 1987. And I refereed all the way until I was with WWE until um, my contract officially ended April 2009. So yeah, that was a pretty long career, and again, grateful. Funny stories, I guess. One that I found funny was in 1999. It was September, and I had just gotten married, so I'd taken a honeymoon, which they granted me 2 weeks off, which was really cool. They're really good about that. I talked to JR and everybody, and they said, go ahead, enjoy your honeymoon. When I got back on the road and back to work, while I was away, I hadn't watched any of, because I was in Europe and I didn't, you're on your honeymoon. I didn't want my wife to get upset, watching wrestling on your honeymoon. It doesn't go very well. But so when I got back, this is when the referees were on strike. Yeah, so when I got back, as a joke, I ran into Triple H in the back, and he says, "Hey," he used to call me Corduroy. "Hey, Corduroys, welcome back." He says, "How's it feel to be out of work? You guys are on strike. Ha ha ha." So I just joked. I said, "Well, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't go on strike because I just got married. I can't afford to go on strike." And he went, "Oh." And he started thinking, and then he went over and talked to JR. And next thing you know, in the story, I became the scab referee who crossed the picket line, as the only guy. And then I paid the price for it at the pay-per-view where I got beat up by the other refs. But it was, I guess that's my 15 minutes of fame being involved in an actual storyline. So that was kind of cool. No. But the way it came about was kind of funny. It started off as a joke, just us kidding around, and then ended up becoming part of the story.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, while on the subject of Triple H, and you met him behind the scenes, so you know him better than anyone else. What's your honest opinion about him? And all on the subject, do you think you would ever come back to referee full-time, part-time?
Well, go to the Triple H one first. I think Triple H is got a again, one of those old adages. He's got a phenomenal mind for the business, and his vision, especially what he's done with the Performance Center in Orlando and NXT, I think he's tapped into something. See, here's the hard part about wrestling / sports entertainment in 2015, 2016 going forward. It's a different business than it was even as far back as the Attitude Era and stuff like that. The business model has changed, and it's tough to find that balance between catering to the hardcore, diehard wrestling fans and the casual fan who wants to be, who like the wrestling part of it but want to be entertained more as opposed to just having good matches. Because diehard fans, you can put on good matches all day long and they'll watch, but casual fans want more. And I think that's what they're doing right now. I think they're finding a good balance. I think Triple H is well on his way to getting that good balance to appeal to both audiences and make it profitable. I think he genuinely cares about the guys and girls who work there. You can tell he's just so passionate about. You talk about giving back to the business, and he's truly giving back. And I think going forward, if Vince ever decides to, step away from the business, which I doubt, but if he ever does, I think the company will be in good hands with Hunter at the helm. As far as going back to the WWE, you never say never. I don't know if I would actually go back to a full-time schedule because the travel is rough. If there's one thing I don't miss about WWE, it's the travel schedule. I love being around all the guys. I love being around all my friends there. I love the performance aspect. I love the backstage atmosphere. I loved all that stuff. Um, but getting on planes and getting in rental cars and being in hotels every day, if there was a magical way you can do it where you can be home every night in a heartbeat, but again, it would have to be right. I would almost rather like to do something more in a teaching role, in as far as helping the young referees kind of develop their craft, if that was possible. That would be something I'd be very much open to.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I'm gonna pass the show over to you, but there's one more thing I want to ask you. I want to
Mhm.
get you fired up, and I know I ask you a lot of depressing questions, and I apologize. But
Oh
every
no, no.
interview's different. I want, like I said, you're doing this to make a new friend, and you're helping a good cause. I want to get you fired up. I want to see you laugh. So you can say anything you want. So, Pat, before I ask you that question, I'm looking at the picture you have behind you of the book you wrote.
Hmm.
And I know you probably want to plug the book. What can you tell us about that?
Um, well, it's called The Three Count: My Life in Stripes as a WWE Referee. Let's see if I can kind of stand up here and kind of get close. Oh, we're getting shine there, so it's not working too well. But I'm trying to get there it is. There it is. There it is. Yeah, yeah. My wife made that for me. She put it in a frame, and basically, it's just the story of my life, starting as a kid here, growing up here in Toronto as a huge wrestling fan, and through very fortunate circumstances, got to live his dream as and work for the biggest wrestling company in the world, and a lot of stories in there. You talk about tragedy, obviously. That was a part of my life as well, so I had to talk about that. I talked about, of course, Owen, Eddie, and even Chris. But mostly, I wanted it to be a positive book and not one of those, uh, you know, take a jab at guys because you have an axe to grind or an agenda, or you're pissed off about something or other. I'm not pissed off. I left on good terms with the company. There's no animosity. There's no agenda there. It's just I wanted to be a positive book, telling some fun stories and just telling the story of my life. And you know, some of the biggest compliments I got were from people like JR, who told me he enjoyed the book, and fellow referee Charles Robinson said to me when I spoke to him after he'd read it. He said he was reading the stories, and it was like he was back in the days where we'd be in the car driving somewhere, and I'd be telling stories. He said it'd be like listening to stories. See, for me, that was the biggest compliment.
All right. Actually, I do have a couple questions for you after the show, if you don't mind.
Sure.
But actually, I'm going to throw one more at you, and I promise I'm going to give you the time that you can finish up the show. When you guys make it two, but 2-1, when WWE won against TNA, do you think TNA would be a great competitor? And do you think copying one show, copying Raw, and Raw copies TNA, do you think that's good for business? Number one. And when WWF won against WCW, what was your honest opinion about that? Last two questions.
All right. As far as TNA goes, the issues with TNA, in my opinion, are not talent related. They have some very good talent there. Wrestling wise, they have some great guys. I think the problem they have is more managerial, creative direction. It's tough finding that balance that caters to a large audience. What TNA has is a loyal following. Like basically they have their loyal followers, but their problem was they weren't able to expand that audience and grow their audience to become a viable competition to the WWE. And if there was a magic formula to fix that, man, I would bottle it and sell it and make money. You know what I mean? But it's a business where in my opinion, there's no actual right and wrong. There's only what works. And the only way to find out what works is to try stuff. And unfortunately for TNA, a lot of the stuff they tried didn't work to expand their audience. As far as competition goes, when obviously WCW, the Monday Night War, that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. As much as it was trying at times because, obviously being on the WWF/WWE side, losing in the ratings every week for 86 weeks wasn't fun. You know what I mean? It wasn't, but it made everybody try harder. It made everybody work harder. And competition does that. When there's no competition like you have now, there's no real competition to the WWE from a wrestling standpoint, from a wrestling company standpoint. Their competition comes from other forms of entertainment. And that's the struggle, because you have great TV shows on, because that's what WWE is. It's basically a TV show every week. So, you have great TV shows on every Monday night. You've got Monday Night Football. You've got when playoffs roll around, like the baseball playoffs and stuff like the Major League Baseball. So it's not just a competition against wrestling, which is a misconception I think a lot of fans make. It's also a competition against other forms of entertainment, and that's the struggle that they face in this new age of 500 channel television and all the ways you can watch stuff on your computer and stuff like that. So it's changed the game for sure.
No, I do have a couple more questions on it, but I did promise I'm going to pass the show over to you. I can always answer in a little bit. But like I said, I'm going to pass it over to you. Was there anything you want to ask me, talk about? This is your time, after all.
Not really. I'm pretty confident. I enjoyed talking to you. If I can, for a second, just let people know where they could reach me if they want to talk. Like you did, you contacted me on Facebook, which is I don't get to my Facebook as much as I do Twitter. Twitter is very much easier for me to contact. So if people want to find me there, they can find me at Jimmy Korderas on Twitter. Facebook is the same, Jimmy Korderas. I mean, it's out there. Up here in Canada, I do a lot of some TV up here. There's a show that we do on Sportsnet 360 in Canada called Aftermath. It's kind of like a post-game wrestling show that airs after SmackDown. And SmackDown in Canada airs on Wednesdays, not Thursdays. We get it a day early, so that's very interesting. I think that usually the United States gets everything first, but Canada gets it first this time. And I also do some stuff with the Fight Network up here. I write weekly blogs for Chairshot Reality website. I'm keeping very busy. And is it? You know what? I will ask you a question. Is outside of this podcast, what else do you do from a wrestling standpoint? Do you do any other writing or podcasting or anything like that?
Could you give me like a perfect example?
I don't know, do you write articles or anything like that? Do you blog how long have you been doing this podcast?
Well, I've been doing this for 2 years. This June will be free. And, cool. On subject, I started back in 2013. Mm-hmm. Don't ask me why. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but when I started, it was all phone conversations. So yes. It was a blank screen. I give you a perfect example. Here's my phone. And mm-hmm. I would record the image from the camera. And if you go, and I can share it to for you on your Facebook if you want, how you see a big transition from season 1, from recording from my camera, we getting the image from the phone, to season 2 of actually recording it from the screen, and now I'm using Skype recorder, so it's now professional. But when I first started, I did 72 interviews. I interviewed people from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to Dragon Ball Z to Amazing Spider-Man, and it still gets me. People say, you have this great format. Why aren't you as big or bigger when you portray yourself to be? Why don't you have sponsors? Why you have endorsements? I don't know. Would you like to help me with that? No, if you can't do it yourself, then you're not capable of taking yourself to the next level. So I didn't say it to him. It's like, yeah, thanks for the support, ass. But one of the people I did talk to said, do it over, do it in a video format, and see what happens. And thanks to you, we're up to 271, actually 272. And I got, well, under subject, I got a lot of, I made categories. I think you're going to be the fifth or sixth WWE interview I did. I interviewed Vince Russo, Lenny Pablo.
Oh, cool.
Let's see who else. There's a couple other ones I can't think of off the top of my head. But WCW, I got Sonny Ono, I got Stevie Ray. TNA, I got Jeff Jarrett. I got Chris Harris. ECW, I got Angel. I got C.W. Anderson. And so I'm trying to do like in categories. But I also got actors, actresses, models, CEOs, professional wrestlers, like I said. And I cover everything and everything. Now, for articles, I can't write an article if my wife depended on it. part of my learning disability. I shared all my videos in your interviews with Marlena Perez, Kansas Michelle, Chris Harris, Vince Russo. I share it with everyone. And I'm hoping this actually turns into something, knock on wood. Like you said, if you compare me to Triple H, I'm very passionate. If I wasn't passionate about this, I would have gave up on it a long time ago. But I'm very passionate, I'm very loyal, hardworking. Every interview is different. I know we started off as morbid, now it's getting better and better. I suck at starting conversations.
Me too.
So I'm like a Windows 98. I'm slow in the beginning, but if you get me fired up, I will be as loyal until the day I die. I interview everyone. I network with everyone from LinkedIn to Twitter, to Facebook, Stage 32. And you should join Stage 32. You would really like it to network with a lot of people. And I'm going to ask you the next question. How did you get on WWE's radar? And how do you think I can get on the radar? Because right now I'm a nobody. But what do you think I would have to do to get them to be like, okay, he did 72. Do you think that's good enough, or do you think I have to do something else? Like, well, this kid, it's really, and it's okay for me to say, it's not okay for me to say, but I am mentally challenged, I am retarded. But do you think I need to do something dramatic like you to get on their radar, or what do you think I need to do to get them knowledge?
Interesting question, because see, I've been away from there for about 6 years now, and in that 6 years, things have changed a lot. So I would love to give you some guidance in that direction, but it's kind of tough because I don't know exactly what they look for with regards to like interviews and in this sort of area. And the only thing I could suggest is man, I don't know, maybe contact their marketing department or their PR department and inquire there, because there's some good guys there that could probably steer you in a better direction than I can. I don't want to say, hey, you know what, you should do this, and then all of a sudden it's like, that's the wrong thing to do. You know what I mean? Like I said, things that are operating differently there now than when I was there. So I'll give you maybe an Adam Hopkins or a Joe Vila would be two guys that you could probably try to contact and maybe get better information from them.
All right. Now I tried reaching out to TNA, and they didn't ask me this, but WWE told me this. They told me that they asked me what my following is, and I think like, well, I'm not a cult leader, so I don't really care what my following is. And then this came up with a lot of people. I talked to someone who knows, like Mickey James, and they said, "What's your following? How many people follow you? What's this? What's that?" Well, I have a couple hundred people following me, and if I would love to have you on Twitter to make the numbers go up, so I have for about 300 people following me. And people say like, if they're not getting paid for their time, they're not interested. But they said to me, well, you have a couple hundred, you're doing a good thing. Come back when you have a couple thousand, or come back when you have a couple million, or come back if you gotta pay me for my time. I'm like, you understand I have a learning disability, yes, but and what I'm doing is a great message, yes, but you don't care, yes. Well, it's not that we don't care, it's just if you said you had a couple of million or a couple thousand, then we can do something about that. But right now you're pissing in the wind. You're a needle in a haystack. You're nobody to us. And maybe that's true, but I'm working my ass off. I'm doing this 24/7, networking, promoting myself, and pretty good for someone who's mentally challenged and has a learning disability. And I'm networking, I'm promoting myself, I'm looking for people. And it was really hard to getting people like yourself on the show, because it's either they want to be paid, or they say, well, can you guarantee me 2,000 hits? And I'm like, whatever happened to doing a good deed? Whatever happened, say like, okay, I see you're doing this, you have a learning disability. And I get make fun of for this. I say, it's the thought that counts. It's always better to go the extra mile, make a difference in someone's life. You live only once. So look at this scenario. You're rich. I use Triple H for a perfect example. You're rich, you have all this money. Do you think when you die, do you want to be remembered as someone who was rich, famous, and cared about themselves? Or when you die, do you want to be remembered for going the extra mile, making a difference in someone's life? No matter how big or small, it's the thought that always counts. Do you really think that's something more? And you're giving back. Do you think it's when you make it? And it's true. If I ever make it big, I'm going to give back. You made it big, and you're giving it back. Do you think that's how life is? Or do you think it's like you only care about the money?
I think it depends on everybody's different, every individual. Like, I'm a firm believer in giving back. I've always been a firm believer in giving back and being thankful for everything. Unfortunately, there are people in the world who don't see things the same way and think more bottom line as far as business goes, as far as money goes. And yes, let's be honest, money is important, but money isn't everything. Money can get you material things and make you comfortable, but at the same time, I'm very big on what's in a person's heart. You know what I mean? And I try to treat people the way I like to be treated, and just be treated like a human being with a little bit of respect. That's it. I don't ask for a lot. Just let's all be nice to each other. That's all, and help out when we can. That's all. And like I said, I try to give back when I can. I would like to give back more, but unfortunately, too, there's only so much I could do at certain times. But again, I guess it all depends on the individual, unfortunately, and some people just don't view life the same way.
No, absolutely. Now, was there any other subjects you want to talk about? Anything else you want to ask me? This is your time,
Uh,
after all.
I know, I know. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go soon because I'm getting like buzzed on my phone here with emails from. Oh, hold on. Give me 1 second here, just so I can see what's going on here. I need to. Get, if I don't answer the wife, then things get a little hairy, and sometimes I get stuff from work too.
Alright, well, wrapping up, I was gonna ask you before, see,
Mhm.
when TNA was copying WWE, and now look at it like this: Eric Bischoff, one of the greatest promoters ever. Did he
Mhm.
ever make mistakes? Absolutely. But did he ever copy WWF? Absolutely not. Did WWF ever copy? Will WWE ever copy WCW? I guess occasionally. You had they're trying, and it worked too. You know, WCW had the NWO. So how do you counteract the NWO? You had the Hart Foundation, one of the greatest factions, and I hated the Attitude Era. I hated it with a passion. And with TNA, for a perfect example, AJ was going around making out with CM Punk and Kane and Cena. Then you had Dixie Carter and AJ Styles copying the same thing, and they say, well, if you go around, I guess if your name's AJ, it's a big thing. Or they copied the Bass NXT. Do you think? And that's funny how they and Cena Bass is NXT as well. But do you think it's good to copy each other or just be original?
Um, it's hard to be original now because pretty much everything's been done, and in wrestling, um, I want to say um, everything, even that you see today, um, from an angle, from any storyline that goes on, is always some kind of variation or derivative of something that happened a long time ago. I used to joke. I used to joke with some guys that it was a 7 year cycle. Every 7 years, you'd see the same sort of storyline, but there's a twist to it that makes it a little bit different. So you can claim that it's not really the same storyline happening because there's another little, um, like I said, a little twist added to it. So uh, again, with wrestling being around for so long, it is very, very difficult to come up with something original that's never been seen before. I always think that they should go back to old tapes from the 70s and 60s and look at what happened back then because no, today's fans haven't seen that. And you can probably find something from those tapes that would work today. What's old is new again sometimes. So it's tough being creative. And do companies take from each other? Yeah, you talked about the NWO and the Hart Foundation and or even DX being kind of like a, but it's almost like a competition, kind of like saying, okay, uh, you guys are doing this, we're going to do something similar, but we're going to try and do it better. It's like anything you can do, I can do better, kind of thing, attitude, and that's what it seemed like. Again, like I said before earlier, there's again no, I don't think there's a right and wrong. It's just what works, and you have to just try different stuff and hope that something works. Very rarely do you catch lightning in a bottle where a Rock comes along or a Stone Cold Steve Austin or a Hulk Hogan or somebody like that. And you mentioned the Attitude Era. I've had this argument with a lot of people about the Attitude Era. They talk about how great the Attitude Era was because of all the stuff that went on, and I keep telling them what made the Attitude Era great for me was not um, the content, the pushing the envelope, and all that sort of stuff. What made the Attitude Era great was the roster and how many guys up and down. Uh, you call it the mid card.
Yeah.
Everybody in the mid card meant something. People had a vested interest in everybody from top to bottom. There wasn't anybody. Everything from the Edge and Christian and Hardys and Dudleys, and you had everybody. Everybody mattered. back then, and that's what made the Attitude Era. It was just so many guys that you cared about, and it made for must see television because you wanted to see these guys as opposed to uh, crash and burn television. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's my opinion. I think it was the talent itself that made the Attitude Era.
No, absolutely. Now, wrapping up, do you have anything you want to say? And one question, will your book ever be available on audio, or is it just on hard copy?
It's just a hard copy. It's a paperback. It's also available on in digital format, I guess, ebook, Kobo or whatever they call it. I'm not very technically savvy, so I have trouble with the. I'm even having trouble with this darn Skype thing a little bit, but that's okay. Uh, in I never thought about doing it in an audio form. It just I wonder. You know what? I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm gonna have to look into. You know what? I'd like to get if they do the audio form. It'd be cool if I can get Morgan Freeman to read it for it because he's got that voice, back in the day, and I don't know. I just think it would work out better. Either him or who else has got a cool voice?
Um,
Um,
this is a narrator from Dragon Ball Z. I can't remember his name, but he has a cool voice. Oh, the guy from Honest Trailers. He has a good voice.
yes. Yeah, that would be cool. See, you got to get somebody with a cool voice, or else it doesn't work. If I did it, people would say, that's just him talking."
Now, wrapping up, do you have anything you want to say to your fans and listeners, how they can follow you? Do you want to plug your social media again?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Jimmy Korderas, Facebook the same, and I've also got a fan page up there, former WWE referee Jimmy Korderas, where I post, stuff like the blogs I write and videos of the TV show that I'm on and stuff with the Fight Network and that sort of stuff. And yeah, again, still a huge wrestling fan, always will be till the very end, I guess. So, and the other thing I'd like to say is I appreciate you having me on today. I really enjoyed our talk, and hopefully somewhere down the line we get to do this again.